So this is the last short section in your chapter 1, and we're going to talk about France. We talked about Spain, we talked about Portugal, and we started talking about somewhat of England, which we're going to go on with that in the next chapter. But we need to know what was going on with France, because part of France had come, there explorers from France to discover parts of America too. They sent explorers. So the French exploration in North America mainly focused on the area that you can see of Canada all the way down the Mississippi River to the Gulf of Mexico and Louisiana. And they established what was called New France. The first French explorers, let's talk about them. In search of a northwest passage to the Pacific Ocean. Now remember, they didn't know Canada was there, they didn't know North America was there and all this land. So they were looking for a northwest passage to get around this land to go to the Pacific Ocean so that they could get to the Orient. And in the Orient, they knew there were a vast wealth to be had if they got to the Orient. So the first French explorers, like we'll see the Spanish and the English and the Portuguese, they were looking for a passage. The first guy was 1524, not too long after 1492, right? When Columbus came and claimed for France. The French started to send, and they sent Giovanni de Verrazano. Okay, there we go. Verrazano. That's how you pronounce. In 1524. He was an Italian again, but he was sailing for France. Many of these guys, these explorers, were Italians or Portuguese sailing for another country. But this Italian, Verrazano, and he sailing in 1524, he explored the east coast of North Carolina to Nova Scotia, Canada. So the east coast, and claiming some of this land for France. Jacques Cartier, in 1534, he explored the St. Lawrence River. So if you go in here, you see where Canada is, the St. Lawrence River coming in, on towards the Great Lakes there, the St. Lawrence River. We have Jacques Cartier exploring this area and claiming this area for France. Now, what was going on in France? We had the Huguenots. Well, the Huguenots were Protestants in France. That they had come to the Lord. A lot of them became Protestants, Christians in such a way that the Roman Catholic Church in France would try to, first of all, kill them all, and then decide that they wanted to send them away. So Huguenots were fleeing to other places. And so they thought of coming to America, of course. And we're talking 1560s. This is before the Pilgrims, remember? 1620s, the Pilgrims. So the Huguenots came from France, and they attempted settlements. They established a fort called Charles Fort in South Carolina on the coast. So you have these French Huguenots, coming from not only the coast of Carolina, the Huguenots also sailed to the Florida coast looking for places to settle. They were having a hard time settling, though, because they had received hardships from the Spanish. Of course, they're coming from France, they're French, and the Spanish didn't want them here. And another, they were not Roman Catholic. Most of course, the conquistadors were all under the Pope, right? And so a lot of these Huguenots were persecuted, as much religious persecution because they were Protestant. And the Spanish and French, of course, both were Roman Catholic. So they were basically trying to find refuge and strength, a place that they could settle outside of France, their home country, because their home country had basically kicked them out. Huguenots, they were following John Calvin, as you recall. So, and the establishment of New France. In 1608, a permanent French settlement was in Quebec, Canada. Samuel de Champlain was considered the father of New France. Now you think of Canada. When you think of Champlain, you're going to think of Canada. And then Jacques Marquette and Louis Joliet, they sailed down through the Mississippi. Marquette was a Jesuit priest. He was a missionary for the Jesuit priests of the Roman Catholic Church. And Louis Joliet was a fur trader. Now you're going to know. France became known for their great fur traders to America. And so they expanded. They explored the Mississippi to Arkansas. So there they went down the Mississippi River, claiming a lot of this area for New France. And here it says the French in America before 1750, they were looking for that northwest passage. And we have Verrazano and on to Cartier. And now we have Champlain. Some pictures of these guys here. Champlain and on to Marquette and Joliet. Okay, let's stop there.